as I was leaving, I went to do a little honk of the horn to be like, bye. And it was, at first I thought it was broken because it went, nanner. And I was like, did my horn just make two different sounds? And then I hit it again and it went, and it made two different sounds. And I was like, I called Donnie and I go, Donnie, my horn broken. It's making different sounds. And he goes, hold the button down longer.
Oh my
God. I held the button down and it plays the Godfather.
That's right. It fucking does. That's right. It does.
What's up, folks? Today's episode of the Smoking Tire Podcast is brought to you by HelloFresh. I love HelloFresh because you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. You can skip trips to the grocery store, which suck, and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. I love HelloFresh because I love cooking, but I hate shopping and I hate food waste. I always end up with a bunch of leftover ingredients in my fridge or my pantry from recipes I made days or weeks ago, and I'm trying to eliminate that, and that's why I love HelloFresh. They send me exactly the right amount of food, sauces, spices, and everything to make the meal for that day, and I'm eating it fresh. It takes like a half hour to 40 minutes, start to finish. That includes the prep. It makes exactly the right amount of food for the number of people you tell them. I tell them 2 people for myself and my wife, and it's the perfect size meal. Right? Makes your weeknights a little easier. You have a long day at work. You don't want to shop on the way home. You don't want to figure out what to make at the last minute. And you don't want to get sucked into a routine where you're only cooking 4 or 5 different things because they're easy and you can do it like with your mind turned off. So fall is the perfect time to cozy up with some delicious sweets. You can get the whole family involved with HelloFresh's limited edition kid-friendly baking kits. But it's not just for dinners either. You can shop HelloFresh Market for quick breakfasts, wholesome snacks, and even desserts. You'll find everything you need to satisfy your cravings without stepping foot in the grocery store or a mini mart. And HelloFresh works with your schedule. The plans are flexible, and you can change your meal preference, update your delivery day, and even change your address with just a few steps at the HelloFresh app. So go to HelloFresh.com/SmokingTire16. Use code SmokingTire16 for 16 free meals across 7 boxes and 3 free gifts. So HelloFresh.com/SmokingTire16, code SmokingTire16 gets you 16 free meals across 7 boxes and 3 free gifts. HelloFresh, it's America's #1 meal kit.
Hey folks, today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Berryman Automotive. You know, although you can walk into an auto parts store and find hundreds of lubricants and additives, sealers and parts cleaners, but only one company has made hundreds of those products for over a century, and that's Berryman. Whether you're a professional mechanic or a do-it-yourselfer or somewhere in between, the Berryman name has been synonymous with performance-enhancing solutions like their industry gold standard B12 ChemTool fuel additives made with Berryman's exclusive high-energy solvent technology, or HEST. Hundreds of solutions and 100 years of experience, all from one company. That's Berryman Products, all American-made since 1918. Berryman remains committed to producing products that meet the highest standards of performance, reliability, and environmental responsibility. In fact, here at my business, Westside Collector Car Storage, where we record this podcast, we store over 100 cars. Many of them are in our long-term care. And over that amount of time, if you've heard this in the past from someone else or myself, fuel can go bad. The chemical compounds can break down and gunk up your fuel system. And that's why we use Berryman's fuel stabilizing products and fuel system cleaning products here in our cars to keep these cars ready to drive and have clean strong fuel systems every time their owners want to take them out. So you'll find Berryman at all major automotive retailers, or check them out at berrymanproducts.com. That's BERRYMAN products.com.
We're also brought to you today by Off the Record. Off the Record is the best place to go when you get a ticket, any kind of moving violation, whether we're talking speeding or something else. That is a financial ecosystem that you do not want to be a part of, whether it's court costs, fines, insurance, whatever it is. Exit it immediately. Get offtherecord.com/TST or get the Off the Record app and use code TST10 on the app. Off the Record will pair you with a qualified attorney who will fight that ticket in the correct jurisdiction. It's super easy. If you get a ticket, send a photo or a scan to Off the Record. You never really have to hear about it again. They deal with the whole thing. Get those points off your record, and you don't have increased insurance costs. You don't have fines. You don't have fees. You don't have risk to your license, risk to your employment. Off the Record is here for you. They have an amazing success rate, and if they don't get the points off your record, money back, folks. It's brilliant. Code TST10 on the Off the Record app or offtherecord.com/TST. All right, folks, today on the Smoking Tire Podcast, Zack has returned from Burning Man with the flu. We're going to be talking about all these crazy art cars and what went on at this year's Burning Man. Plus, we have so many of your car questions to get to that we didn't get to last show. We're going to cover them all today on the Smoking Tire Podcast. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another show from home. Zack is in front of his white wall. I'm in front of my basic ass new wall today. I think you didn't test positive for COVID, right? You're still negative COVID?
Still negative. I think I
so
just
you
have
have the
flu.
actual flu. God,
Old school, man.
I thought the flu was done. I mean, straight
No.
up, I thought the flu was done. It turns out if you go to Burning Man, you're going to get something, whether it's an STD or a something.
I mean, of all the things to come away with, this one's fine, and it's a pretty harsh environment. So most people will have some kind of sinus infection afterwards. But
Right.
but yeah, I think the flu is like the mail, and COVID's like FedEx. It's like, yeah, FedEx is around, but the mail's not leaving.
Right. Right. But also it's important to I think it's good. It's good to normalize staying home when you're sick, period. It's
Yeah.
that. If COVID never happened, we probably would be in the studio together now, and I might have also gotten the flu at a bad time.
I mean, I think maybe it's made us more responsible, but I feel like if I had the flu, I wouldn't. Like a cold that's almost waning, maybe we'd risk it, but like the flu is like, no, I don't want to go in and you don't want to get it.
Yeah,
That's different.
I don't need that shit.
No.
But you feeling all right? Ish.
Yeah, just congested, just
All right.
super congested.
All righty then. Well, I'm in. This is my new office, so you may see more of it from time to time. Behind me
Cat
is
stands.
the cat gym. This closet is the cat gym, so we're gonna have more of those cat towers, and then you can see right here. That's a cat tunnel. So with the door,
Oh, yeah.
the office door is closed, and you can see my very neat iPad home controller on there. I can do all kinds of shit from the iPad. And Hannah's desk is across the way right here. We have a collective office. Oh, look, cricket's coming through.
Cat coming through the tunnel.
So that's the point of this tunnel. The point of this tunnel is that you could keep the door closed for to get work done, but the cats won't get trapped in or out. The cats can move freely about the house. Isn't that cool?
Is the point of the door, like you said, to get work done? Basically, you can have the door closed for privacy, because otherwise the only people that would come in and out of that door would be the cats.
Well, no, if I'm doing shit in the other room or hanging out or whatever, or the housekeeper's vacuuming or whatever,
it's a noise.
Hannah would want to close the door. Yeah, it's not like privacy. It's more like noise privacy, but you still don't want the cats to be trapped in rooms. And we have a tunnel in our bedroom also. So we could close our bedroom door for privacy, but the cats can go
out from the bedroom to the living room. Hi, Cricket. Come
It's
on in.
it's a pretty clever idea. It is.
This is
It really
fucking
is.
innovative, dude.
Yeah.
Come on, Cricket. It's okay. And our contractor thought we were insane when we said we wanted to cut passages in the walls for the cats, but then he got right on board with it, and he thinks it's like the greatest thing.
He's going to tell other clients. He'd be like, "Oh, you guys have cats. One thing we did for the, these other, like this will probably start a trend. I really think.
Yeah, and they're not like tunnels because they're not like long. They're 8 inches long. They go through from one room into another. So they're
it's not Escobar.
No, yeah. El Chapo doesn't have the motorcycle on rails to go through that shit, but it allows cats to and they're fucking. The cats are doing like really well in this new house. They're having a good time. When you move cats from one location to another where there's no scents in the new location, like they don't have their scents all over stuff. You want to bring stuff like these towers that we brought that have their scents on them. But there's also like a reshuffling of the hierarchy. So, Finn, who's our boy, was like bullying the girl cats at the other house and being kind of territorial and jealous. And now when they got to the new house, they were all like equally terrified, but it was like, oh, you're here too. I know you. Everything else is strange, but like, I know you, And so there's actually been a fairly harmonious balance between cats, and they're having fun exploring with the tunnels and all kinds of stuff. It's great.
Hopefully that continues and that he doesn't get comfortable. And then he's like, okay, I run this new jail.
I mean, it happened when we moved from the Playa House to Venice. There was a reshuffling of pet hierarchy, and so it's interesting. So, but that's going well as air conditioning, dual zone, baby. Love it. I want to talk about Burning Man, but before we do, I went to Rise and Shine yesterday, which is this company Race Service, which is like a marketing agency that sort of masquerades as a car shop. They do like some project car type builds for clients, but it looks like a mechanic shop, but it's really an ad agency.
I mean, I'd say they're mostly known for a lot of the video content they did with Daniel Ricciardo, F1. Right. It's what's his name? Ryan Turk is a partner in it.
Yeah.
So they've done a lot of features on his stuff. So that's probably
I think Danny Rick might be a quiet partner in that company.
Oh, okay.
Possibly. But they do stuff with McLaren and Porsche and other corporate clients. Nikki came through the tunnel too. God, this tunnel is working out great.
It's pretty cool. They figured it out immediately.
They have a Wednesday Cars and Coffee, and I've always said I like weekday Cars and Coffees because the kind of folks who can go to a Cars and Coffee on a weekday are there. It's all creatives and artists and musicians and content creators and people who make their own schedules. And that's same thing with Good Vibes on a Friday, same kind of deal. Nothing wrong with a 9 to 5, but it's kind of cool to be at a Cars and Coffee on a weekday and be surrounded entirely by independent creators. And if you're in LA, like that's the thing about being in LA is there's a lot of people who are on that gig type of life. So it was Ferrari day. I drove the 328. Amelia came down. I saw her. She's doing very well. I saw a lot of other folks, but as I was leaving, I went to do a little honk of the horn to be like, bye. And it was, at first I thought it was broken because it went, and I was like, did my horn just make two different sounds? And then I hit it again and it went, and it made two different sounds. And I was like, I called Donnie and I go, Donnie, my horn broken? It's making different sounds. And he goes, hold the button down longer. Oh my God. I held the button down and it plays the Godfather.
That's right, it fucking does.
And he goes, I'm fucking dying laughing. And he goes, thanks, Zack, for this one.
Yeah, man. I don't know why. I can't remember why I thought of this, but it was like at least a month ago. And I think I was talking to Vinny or something about like pranking you. And I found these horns and they were like not expensive, but so I find the horn and I order it. And I talked to Donnie beforehand. I'm like, hey, can you install these in a way that's like not permanent damage, you know, all that stuff. And he's like, yeah, absolutely. And he's on board with it. And I now understand your relationship with Donnie and trying to get something done, because I had to keep like poking him. Like you were like a day away from picking the car up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'll walk you through the whole thing. So he's like, yeah, I can do it. So I ordered the horns to my place because I was skeptical about getting them delivered to his compound. And they
you don't ship things to his compound. If you have to send something to him, did he tell you what to do?
No.
I had to send shit to him once, and you have to send it to his mom's house. It's the most Donnie. Yeah, his mom lives in like the middle of the fucking desert, and he's like, send it to my mom's house.
That is so mob. That is so mob-like. That is so sketch.
So go on, yeah.
So the box shows up, and the things are big. There are 6 individual air horns.
No way.
Yes,
I thought it was like one little digital.
That's what I thought it was going to be, but it's and when I saw the photo,
where are they?
I don't know where.
Where in the car are they? No idea where they are.
Dude, some of them are as big as this West Side Collector cup. This
no
thing is like,
way.
Yes, they are different sizes. They range from like, I would say 5 inches long to like 8.5.
No way. I had no idea they were that big. And
then there's a compressor that is like a coffee mug, but maybe 50% taller, that has all these spouts, and you hook up the air horn, and that puts the pressure through in a certain sequence. So you have to put like horn 1 on tube 1 and run all the surgical tubing. And I look at it and I sent him a photo, and he's like, I can make it happen. So we went up there to film one of the updates, and I had the horn in my backpack. And when you were distracted, I dropped it in the back of his truck. Like it was a total
no
handoff.
Way.
Yeah.
This was like a mob handoff?
Yeah, this is the
quickest. You did the duffel shuffle on me?
I did. So when we drove up there, I had it in the bag, and I did the bag drop.
Oh, that rules.
Yeah, it was and I was like, man, I hope he likes it and I don't get fired. And
no, it's hilarious. Dude, it's so funny.
But after he installed it, I didn't want to prompt you to honk it like at West Side and be like, oh, does the horn work? I want it to happen naturally. So I'm like, all right, he's going to Pebble. You do a lot of friendly honking. I'm sure it'll happen on the trip. You do a lot of beeps. And then you came back and you hadn't done it. And I was like, this could be a week, or this could be 6 months.
You have no idea when I'm going to discover this thing.
Exactly. I was like, maybe it'd be a Cars and Coffee, which it was, which is so magical. But when I heard the clip on YouTube, I was amazed at the accuracy. It plays the Godfather, you know.
Well, do you know where in The Sopranos?
Yeah, that was the clip I watched.
In The Sopranos, Paulie Walnuts had it in his car. That is the funniest fucking thing.
Oh, I think this came from sending that clip to Spinelli, and I'm like, I wonder if someone makes that horn. And I googled Sopranos Godfather horn, and it's like on eBay. It's like, yeah, we got that, and we have that.
Who
SEO.
else? What other songs can you get? I mean, obviously there's like La Cucaracha and shit, right? The Cholos fuck with that, but like, can you get other songs?
Let me see. Musical car horn.
Finn, are you confused with how to get out of this room? You go out the same way you came in. You go through the tunnel, buddy.
Well, there's something called the Dixie.
Mm-hmm. That's the Dukes of Hazzard.
Okay. Boom blasters, loud custom car horns, funny musical.
It's actually it works because it's got the right. It's not like aggressive. It's friendly. It's musical, but it's like it actually has kind of that Ferrari-esque tone. You know what I mean? It's not like getting like an air horn on a fucking 3500. It's got like a friendly pitch to it, but it's really, really funny.
I mean, because good European horns were usually air horns, so this has a couple more of those, you know?
Yeah, it was a very good joke. It is hilarious. There's no way I'm taking it out of the car. It's really fucking funny.
Perfect. Oh man, I'll drop a clip in for people to hear. Yeah,
it's fucking hysterical.
Man, I think you were 2 days away from getting the car, and I was texting Donnie. I was like, "Did you do the horn?" He's like, "Oh yeah." And then he made a
welcome to the life of Donnie.
I mean,
I'm-
lowest thing on the priority, but yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, I'm bringing the car up there today because after the road trip, I had a very small list of adjustments that I did want him to make. I mean, like really minor. The car's totally fine. I've been driving it around for 2 days, but it corners. He had a 4-wheel alignment done, but it wasn't corner balanced for my weight. And in a 2,800 pound car, it does actually make a difference. So it corners better left than right.
Oh, interesting.
And so I'm having him realign it corner balanced for 260 pounds. And then there's just like the 2 other tiny little fucking bullshit things. But I'm going up there because I'm doing a story on his 308 for Road and Track, and I'm getting a ride back down with Lisa, the photographer. So I have a convenient time to drop it off. So speaking of deserts,
Yeah,
Burning Man
and cars. Burning Man was it was a hot one. It was, I think, for me. So I've been 4 times, and I think this was the hottest, most number of consecutive days over 100 degrees. A couple days in a row was like 111 in the sun. So we did a lot of napping and whatnot. But
wow.
It is still a very like magical place. Like everyone there is the friendliest they will probably be all year.
Well, they're all on Molly. Everyone's
Not all the
friendly on
time. You can't
Molly.
do that every day. You
You don't think someone at Burning Man could do Molly every day? I think so.
Your brain will literally run out of serotonin on like day 2, and then you'll be sad. You'll just be sad, and you'll be, basically taking placebo pills and being like, why don't these work? So
I guess that is a waste of drugs, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean that's the way the brain chemistry works. But I was thinking it's kind of like it's like a free food court, except you pay. It's like going to Sandals. It's like all inclusive. You buy the ticket and all the shit to go there, which is not cheap. And then once you're there, everything's free.
Right.
So you better eat all the free bacon and champagne you can find to try to optimize it. But some of them, there was a lot of notable stuff and a lot of art cars. But one of the coolest things we saw was, have you heard of a place in Tokyo called Golden Guy?
No.
So Golden Guy is a very small area in Tokyo that is like an alley. And what the building owners did is they gave people bought, I think, an 8x8 space that they could open a bar, but it's only 8 feet by 8 feet. And so you go down this alley and there's like 30 bars that are all totally different and very small. And so they replicated that on this street. And it was
the 8x8 is in Tokyo, not just Burning Man.
Correct. Yeah. So in
I'm
Tokyo,
looking up
it's 8x8.
Golden Guy, Tokyo.
Oh yeah, we could screen share.
You could probably pull up but I'm doing the getaway on my phone.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it looks exactly like I thought it would look. Whole bunch of tiny bars. Cool.
Which in Tokyo, you expect it. It's a dense
space. It also looks like every Tokyo alley.
Yeah, but for some reason, this one, I mean, a bunch of people in my camp have been to Tokyo. They all knew about it, and so they replicated that here. And so there was like a place called Mama's Kitchen, and these really nice people were making burgers and cookies and stuff, and they had knickknacks and wallpaper and shelves and tiny teapots. Like they went all out, and it felt like you were in grandma's kitchen from
but were they like semi outdoors?
Grandma's kitchen, I think, had an exposed roof. Some of the other ones had a closed roof, either made out of wood or one had solar panels. That was like where they put the solar for their camp, which was pretty clever. And there was like an Old West bar, and then there was a blacklight bar, and then is there
a lot of, I have to be honest, I've never been to Burning Man, but when I think about Burning Man, I don't think about alcohol.
Oh, there is so much alcohol.
Oh, really? There are people just straight drinking?
I would say
I just think about drugs. It doesn't give me an alcohol vibe.
I think, well, it's a very social like event in place. So a lot of people like social lubricant, but there's also like There's a lot of alcohol. Our neighbors were making really fancy mezcal cocktails like 2 nights a week, and that was their event. There's champagne brunch happening over here. Basically, I'd say almost every camp has a bar where you could walk up and just go, "Do you guys have anything to drink?" And they'll go, "Yes," or they're advertising, lemonade vodka or Long Island's, or and some of the people there are proper mixologists that
I'm sure,
you get surprised. And there's a camp down the street that was like, "Here's our menu," which you rarely see, and they're like, "Which one of these amazing gin or Kahlua drinks do you want?" And
so what, does everyone at the camp take a shift as a bartender throughout the week? Is that how that works?
yeah, I think at the mezcal camp there were 2 women that was like their gift and to everybody. So they would do like 3 hours of just making amazing mezcal muddled cocktails. But then another camp I went to, it was like a guy with an igloo cooler of gin fizz and an igloo cooler of rum punch, and he just would like serve that in the cup. But everyone walks around with a cup with your driver's license printed and like stuck to it because they need to card people. So I guess that should inform how much alcohol there is it's like, hey, just carry a cup. You can get drinks everywhere.
I straight up have a Nalgene with my ID on it.
Yes, yes. I literally had that on a cup.
That's pretty funny.
So, but the funniest thing at Golden Guy, there's all these different bars, but there's these 2 guys that opened a French cafe, and it's like they have the iron tables, they got the facade of the cafe, they have the outfit, they only speak French, but they do a cartoon version of impatient, annoyed French waiter. And
that's
so
pretty funny.
You have to get in line to sit down. If you go sit down, they will usher you the fuck out and like give you shit in French. It is hilarious. We were there for an hour watching different friends try to get sat or get sat. None of us speak French except one of our guys who just sat on the sidelines and translated for us like a docent at a museum.
What the guy was saying.
It was so hilarious. He's like, no, now he's trying to help them count to 4. Now he's asking them again how many people in their party. Now he's asking them again. He's asking them again. And meanwhile, like the waiter will like berate you and then take a break to go dust off part of their sign and like spit shine it, which doesn't change it at all.
So they were just doing a performance like the whole time. Were they actually serving food or drinks as well? Or
I got sat with a friend of mine after no joke 10 minutes, and they served us wine. And it was pretty good. They had like a Sauv Blanc and another red, but it's just they did it really for hours, and it was really fucking funny. We met them later, and they were French, and they're like, we thought it was really fun to do this.
But they do speak English. They just refuse.
Oh,
to.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah, no, one's Canadian and one's like, I think they're both Canadian. They speak perfect English.
Yeah,
but they just thought this would be a fun. Dude, it was one of my highlights of the thing is to just watch them commit to the bit. And like this drunk chick showed up and tried to push her way in and like joke around like, oh no, I'm totally gonna drink this wine over here, and they would just be like, Madame, and they would like push her away very gently and then like give her shit. And then go back to serving drinks at another table. And if you try to sit down, they would just go, no, Madame, and it was like, and people got really awkward because they didn't want to like push their way. Dude, it was so fucking funny.
I just like rubbed dust in my eye. That's the Burning Man experience. I just rubbed dust in my eye.
Oh God, there's so much of it.
Well, so what about the art cars?
Yeah, so I have some things pulled up.
I really I like hearing about the art cars.
Yeah, because there's just if somebody wants more experience, watch a.
Did the 747 make a return trip?
It did not. It was probably too much of a logistical headache to bring out. But let me share my screen. And
the guy who built that 747 used to live across the street from me in Venice, and then one day he just packed up his shit and left. I never saw him again, but he was a nice guy.
Wow. Let me see. Okay. Can you see?
Yeah.
Like this?
Oh, the pirate ship. That's cool as fuck.
All right. So this is one of my favorite cars I've ever seen. It's been there every year. And I mean,
this like is a galleon. It's like a straight up pirate ship.
Yeah. It's like a 3-mast pirate ship made of wood.
With that much actual wind, I bet having those sails could be kind of a problem.
I never saw the sails up.
It's probably too windy.
Yeah. I feel like you'd be going 50 miles an hour all of a sudden, and it'd be really dangerous. So this photo, is from what's this guy? I want to give him credit. Scott London. But this is one of the most impressive things. Like there's so much wood on it. It's multiple mass. I mean, how many sales are there here? Like 15?
How big is
legit.
it? I mean, I see people on it. It's like 30 feet.
Yeah, I think that's a good estimate. You know, I don't
Yeah.
know what it's built on. Like I see a dually in the back, but I don't know if
Yeah.
it's a bus or what. But yeah, I think it's like 30 feet. And when it rolls through the streets, that's when it is the most impressive and the biggest. Because out here in the open, what they call the playa,
Yeah,
there's no real
scale.
sense of scale. So like you can tell something's big when it goes by, but when you see this thing just roll past your living room and past people on bicycles, you're like, there's a fucking schooner going by.
Where do you think it's driven from? Is that kind of a hole in the nose there?
No, I mean, I think there's probably someone back here with a steering wheel, and then
You think there's like
watch
a
up front.
captain's fucking tiller? Wow.
I don't know if they'd use a tiller. They're probably still
Not a
using
tiller, but I
steering
mean
wheel,
like a
but
big
yeah.
like pirate ship steering wheel from the
Yeah,
back.
I didn't.
Wow.
I've never gotten on this one, but it's just one of my favorites because it's the most out of place and like one of the most ornate too.
Yeah, that's super cool. Is there
pirate
a
ship.
below deck?
Ooh, good question. A lot of these are like the frame,
Yeah.
and then there's a bunch of empty space and then a platform on it or something like that. So they can get in here, or they have electronics or propane or other things stored just on the frame.
Yeah.
So this
Super cool.
This is crazy. This photo is also by Scott London. This thing is called like the Hyleran. This is a car I walked past.
Can you like zoom in on that photo? It's like an exoskeleton meets Ed Roth kind of thing. Engine behind driver, artsy dune buggy, but also kind of looks like a fan boat.
Yeah,
in
it's
some
a little
ways.
bit of like Ariel Adam meets the like Venom, the superhero character.
It's
So
beautiful.
it's amazing. It's all like bent steel tubing. It's all polished. I mean, 3 seats. The seats are made of metal.
I mean, it
LS
looks kind of
powered.
dirty in this, but is it chrome? Is it fully polished?
It's fully polished. Yeah, I
Wow.
walked around it and I was. They have 2 of them now. I remember seeing the first one like years ago. I mean, this thing has like some strange disco ball on the back that's all made of hand bent tubing, cut metal. I mean, look how many exhaust
Is that the
pipes there are.
exhaust?
There's like
Is that the exhaust pipes? It's like 16 exhaust pipes.
yeah, there's 8 per side.
That's so funny.
I mean, it looks like it could
That's
go
like back in the
120
day
miles
when
an hour.
I went to Mexico, like in high school. Like this would have been in the late 90s. And I didn't see it the last time I was in Mexico earlier in 2022, but in the late 90s, you'd see pickup trucks in Mexico that had 8 to 10 exhaust pipes going across the back. And this is what that reminds me of.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really funny.
So this, I saw this camp and they have 2 of these things, and their trailer it had some of the letters were grayed out, but it said like funny car racing. So I think it's a bunch of guys or people that work at a like Top Fuel funny car shop, which makes total sense when you look at this thing. But it is so impressive, and it looks like
really,
they should be able
really
to go
cool.
80 miles an hour, but they're not allowed to. But
The speed limit's got to be like 10, right?
It's 5. I think people push it. Actually, this year, a lot of people on e-bikes were going way too fast.
Yeah, well, that's what e-bikes
Yeah.
are for. Good luck regulating that shit.
Yeah, they might like find a way to ban them because people are going like 40 miles an hour, and it's
I
so
just
dangerous.
the other day rode my e-bike over to the new, from the old house to the new house, and I fucking hit 41 on the e-bike on the Bologna Creek path, and I was like, this is so dangerous.
Yeah, and that was in the daytime.
Yeah,
That's crazy. So then we got this.
Whoa,
This is a
giant shark.
giant chrome shark. It's got lights around the edges, of course, on all
That's
like on the fins. and
pretty
things.
fucking cool, actually. This reminds me of the Blastoline Deco liner, especially with the rooftop drive and that teardrop shape at the back with the tail. Doesn't it kind of remind you of a little Randy Grubb vibe, although a little rougher?
Yeah, the Randy would be like a little bit smoother, but this is polished aluminum on the skin as a skin.
It's a giant shark with an open mouth and teeth.
And I think it's
eyes.
it's like a truck front with a trailer and then another trailer. 'Cause if you look at the number of axles, there's 5.
Yeah, and it looks like behind that first side portal, there's like a gap That's I can't tell if that's just an open gap or like an accordion, but it looks like it's a hinge to bend.
I think this is the hinge because I think there's a trailer here.
Yeah, yeah.
So the back half of the Shark is on a 2-axle trailer. Running out of time.
Right.
10 minutes. And
that's pretty cool because it could probably do like this. It can
Yeah.
like swim. Yeah, that rules.
and then it can navigate, the streets a lot better. And then even the actual tail fin is like another second trailer with a second set of wheels,
That's
which is
real
pretty amazing.
cool.
Yeah, and people can climb in and go up on top. So that one is very and this thing is huge. It is so easy to spot in the middle of the night from like 2 miles away. I mean, I don't know how long it is, but
Does it do do they have like sick lighting design on it too?
yeah, this one, the whole outline is lit in red. So, from afar, you just see like the profile of a red shark going across the dark, which is pretty cool and simple.
That's pretty awesome.
All right. And then
whoa,
this was really
that's that's just like amazing. A straight up, it's like a tiny house, but it's done like a Wild West saloon with unbelievable detail.
Yes. Crazy detail. It's called the Why Not Saloon, which drives around. I mean, this looks like
it looks like a stationary building, like or like if you had the most Instagrammable tiny house build ever.
Yeah, but it's big enough. I mean, we have 4 people standing on this porch, and you could fit, I'd say, another 8. So it's pretty wide, but it looks like
really
a
beautiful.
Total standalone building made out of wood and stone that looks like a little bit a bar, and then inside is so
tin
detailed.
Ceiling, really amazing wood details.
It's got
lots of like vintage
bar.
Furniture, like a full bar, like a stand-up cocktail bar.
I mean, these seats are made of antler.
That's gorgeous. I mean, that's really, really gorgeous. Yeah. That's really unbelievably beautiful. I'd love to when we have the grand opening of the new shop, I'd love to fucking just park this bitch out front. Wonder if they rent it for events.
I bet they would. I don't know where it's based, but a lot of the art and cars, after a couple of years, are bought by either museums or actually a couple of cities have bought art cars to just put in a park as art and kind of draw the younger demographic to their city.
This is really cool. I mean, if I wanted to go ham building a bar in my house, this is the kind of bar you'd want to build.
Totally.
I mean, really, really great.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's amazing.
And it just the fact that this thing drives around is
Did they keep it period old timey the whole time? Is it real old timey in there?
Oh, you mean in terms of what people wore?
Yeah.
Well, I think the bartender probably does, but whoever walks in can just walk in. So, if I walk in wearing a spacesuit, then they're not.
Oh yeah, the customer is sure, but that's.
But I think
cool.
the people that were providing it or working it were probably keeping it period correct just to add to the atmosphere. Yeah, it's really
that
nice.
Might be my favorite one yet. That's because it's not like art as much as it is we built an actual fucking saloon.
It's crazy.
It's amazing. It just looks like a building. It doesn't even look like it could drive. It looks like there's a building there.
Yeah, the only giveaway is that the bottom of the building is 6 inches off the ground. And you're like, well, that's because of the tires, but I totally agree. It just looks like a building.
In this photo, the stairs that are the quote front door, is that actually the back of the vehicle? It's driven from the other side? This is
probably. I didn't actually see it driving at any point out there. There's another photo from I think Scott London, but I think it's probably driven from the far end. So in the interior we see the classic swinging doors. So maybe maybe
there's a motorman cab at the other side. Yeah. That
people get
fucking
pretty clever.
rules.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's lanterns in here with lights and windows. I mean, glass.
If you're
windows.
listening to the radio version of this, the audio version, when you get home, why not saloon, but the letter Y?
Yeah. And if
that's
you go
very fucking cool.
I think Forbes, I got all these photos from a Forbes article on Burning Man Art Cars 2022, including this one. So really unbelievably impressive.
Yeah.
Just incredible. I mean, everything else after this will be. So I like this photo because there's a lot of really big, ornate, expensive art cars out there, but everyone has to start somewhere. So this is an anglerfish, which at night looks like a fucking anglerfish. It's really well lit.
It's on a golf cart.
Yeah, there's a lot of cars are built on golf carts because they're incredibly, shockingly sturdy. And, you know,
Of course, they're shockingly
manageable.
sturdy. You've seen what people do to golf carts on golf courses.
Very true.
And-
Yeah. My friend built his art car is built on a golf cart frame, and it can hold like 12 people. I'm like, this is for real? He's like, yeah, golf cart. Unbelievable.
Well, especially the ones that are not like for golfing, the ones that are for like luggage carrying at resorts where they've got like
Oh, right.
3 or 4 rows of seats and extended wheelbases. Those things are meant to carry. They have an enormous gross vehicle weight capability
That's a great
for
point.
what they are. Yeah, yeah. And if you think about a golf cart, even one that's for golfing, think about the percentage of its life that it spends driving on off-road surfaces. I mean, it's quite I mean, I bet you if you did math, a golf cart goes off-road more often than all but the absolute most serious rock crawler, vehicles,
Oh, sure.
a golf cart is off-road more often than any Ford Raptor ever built.
Yeah. More than any Wrangler Rubicon you see at your local coffee shop. For sure. Good point. That's a very good point. So that's why I like
golf carts are tough as shit. Yeah.
They're tough. And there's a lot of people that just, it's a 2 or 4 seat thing and they want to use it to get around, but it's like, it doesn't all have to be a, 5 to 6 figure or more like, sound wall of an art car. Because a lot of the art cars basically turn into like moving DJ stages at some point.
Well, yeah, and a golf cart size thing, you could get it up there on a regular single car trailer behind a fucking U-Haul or an RV.
Yeah.
You don't need to have some crazy logistics thing to get it up there.
Which
and
actually,
in this photo, the anglerfish is in front of what looks like an enormous hidden Hindu temple or Buddhist temple or something. What's that about?
I honestly didn't even see this out there. Like, that's how many things there are, which is crazy. Like, when I saw this photo, I went, did I miss that? Was it not like
how did I miss the gigantic 4-story temple?
One of the most common things after this is someone goes, oh man, one of my favorite things was da-da-da. And you went, where was that? And they go, it was right over here. And you go, I was over there. How did I not see it? It's just like, because you're literally looking the other way.
Yeah.
The last car I want to show you were these made by some very nice people that stopped by.
Oh, that's very cool.
Here we go. Oh yeah, this was just beautiful.
Whoa, that's steampunk thing. Oh, that's like fiber optic lights.
Like a fiber optic garden that was, I don't know, 200 feet by 200 feet. It was huge,
That's real cool.
It was really simple, but beautiful.
It's got a very Chihuly vibe. This is cool. This is like a steampunk locomotive.
Yeah, like a kind of time machine.
Yeah, somewhere between like did you ever see like the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea?
Yes.
It looked like the Nautilus, somewhere between that and Doc Brown's Time Train.
Yeah, good description.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
So,
is that all knocked in? Is that all metal?
No. So what's so amazing about this, so that all of these panels that look like, copper that has oxidized and turned green, it's all plywood that they painted this well.
Oh, and then when you get that much playa dust on it, it masks the fact that it's not.
I looked at it up close. Like, I walked around this thing for about 30 minutes. I talked to the owner, Bob, and got a bunch of details. And I didn't know it was plywood until his wife told us after 25 minutes. We're like, are you serious? Like, we hadn't tapped on it. And a lot of the stuff, like this weird kind of ray gun in the front, these are clear plates he bought for $1 at the store, and then he put LEDs behind him. Like, there's a lot of really clever found stuff. He used a lot of bike chain. He used telephone cord.
This is like that's
so
like
amazing.
how they did the Back to the Future DeLorean, is with stuff just like this. It's just found stuff that when you assemble it in the right order, it looks like a sort of home engineered steampunk thing. What was the detail you wanted to show me? And by the way, does that horn play the Godfather theme song?
It looks big enough, right? So it's funny, the guy calls this the Beamer Steamer, and
is it a BMW under there?
No, it's actually a Volkswagen Bug.
Oh.
But what was confusing is I asked one of the guys, like, is it steam powered? And then he like said yes with a big explanation, but his face was like, I'm totally lying to you. I could never get it. And then when they started it, it didn't sound like a Beetle. It didn't sound like a BMW. It didn't sound like there was no steam whistle. So it was just one of these things where they're just not going to tell me the truth, but it does shoot fire out of this
It's a weird
smokestack.
it's a weird thing to just not be honest about. Like, you're into cars. What's the fucking engine? Who cares?
Well, it wasn't the owner that did this. It was like a guy that was with him. I think he just wanted to, fuck with me. But it does shoot fire out of this smokestack, which is very, very cool.
That is very cool.
And then let's see. I don't know if I can play this video through screen share. Let's see.
You probably can.
It has a fun. Let's see if you'll hear this. I'm not sure if you will. Desktop.
I don't know if you can play sound.
Okay. Well,
I haven't. I don't know. I've never tried, but try it. Go ahead.
Can you hear that?
No.
Okay. Then I'll just describe. So on the outside of this car, there's
like gears and cogs and chains.
There's tons of gears and cogs and chains and all kinds of stuff. And on one of the sides, there's a switch that says start. And so when I pushed it, it makes a fart sound, which is like, because men never grow up. The guy that built this is like 75.
Yeah.
So I started fucking with people, and I would bring, my friends started walking out to look at this, and I was like, hey, check it out. And I was like, do you want to start it? And they're like, do I want to start it? And it's right next to all these gears and bike chain. I go, just don't put your hand in there when you start it. And they go, okay. And they would very tentatively reach out and hit the fart button. And it had like 7 different farts.
That's really fun.
And it was so fun because everyone started, that became the joke. So a new person walk over and they go, do you want to start it? Yeah. And I just sat there and watched this domino effect as everyone's like, is my hand gonna get cut off? And they're like, just be careful. And then they would laugh and then the next person walk up and like, hey, do you want to start it?
That's really funny.
Yeah. So these are like those lit up plates. I mean, it's just stuff like this. This guy built this over 5 years.
Yeah.
This looks like it took a while. From end to end. Like every detail on this thing is unbelievable. He even put like the BMW M3 like quad exhaust on the back, even though
it's funny.
And it's got this big boiler that I think was 80 years old. It has a gauge on it for different meat temperatures. And it's like poultry.
It's like a big pressure cooker.
Yes, it's a pressure cooker, like 100-gallon drum pressure cooker.
Wow.
And it does nothing. But the thing shoots fire.
Great, though. That's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to look good.
It does. Like just all these weird springs. Like I don't know where they found this stuff, but all of it works together so perfectly.
I mean, they probably went to that like Apex Electronics place, the same place that like Hollywood guys go to build shit like this. This looks like a Hollywood prop master built it.
It does. I actually didn't. I think the guy was a mechanical engineer. Right? Mechanical engineer.
I mean,
no, fabricator. He's a fabricator.
Yeah, of course he is.
Long time, but it's just it's so
rad.
cool. Yeah. So that was my favorite art car overall, just because it was really built by one person, and for just out of love, really.
That's fucking epic. That was great.
Yeah. So that concludes the art car tour. I mean, there's 70 of them out there.
Yeah. Doesn't the guys that you go with, don't they have it's like a covered wagon, like an Oregon Trail wagon?
Yeah. My friend Eric, best friend since I was in 6th grade, he didn't go this year, but he turned a golf cart into a covered wagon, and all the seating inside is open. He moved the steering wheel to the wall. So basically it's like a red velvet couch, like oval inside, that you can seat about 8 people. And then you sit in the back and you just turn this wheel on, like that's mounted to the wall, and that turns you left and right. And the throttle is an electronic actuator, like a dimmer switch.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually his goal is he wants to make it joystick controlled to like shrink the controls even more. But that thing's really cool. It's just, friendly. It kind of makes sense. You can drop the canvas if you're in a windstorm, and it's nice to see. There's a lot of art cars out there that feel exclusive in like they're not accessible. Everyone's 40 feet off the ground.
Right.
How do you get up there? Does it stop? And some of them are owned by rich people that don't want other people on there. But stuff like,
it's very funny. It's even at the most egalitarian thing ever. It's like, no, this is mine, and you people are.
It's not common, but it does happen. It 100% does happen.
Remember my neighbor, in Venice was not to that extreme, but was one of those people who would go on and on about how there's no money on the playa and it's all this and this. And in the 6 months leading up to the Burning Man, he would spend $1 million, on art cars and costumes and giant Prevost RVs and whatever the fuck, there was no money on the playa, but the amount of money you fucking blew through to prepare for the playa versus versus a guy who built a yurt out of plywood or whatever the fuck,
100%. It's all just a sliding scale. I realized this year I was like, the effort it takes to bring bacon out there, cook it, give it away to people. You got to store the grease, all that stuff. Like, all right, let's call that effort, a unit of 5. Right. But if you have all the money in the world and you've done this a bit, you're like, well, how can I make people more excited? Which is, of course, a little bit, I started calling it like the narcissistic nationals because it's like, you're doing this to provide fun for people, but it's also so that you can feel good about being the person that provided
you're the boss. Yeah.
So, that's why you bring a 747 because you don't have bacon money anymore. Now you have pork barrel money.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. But
now you're trading pork bellies.
Yeah. But anything cool or special costs lots of money, beyond natural wonders,
of course.
Like, spaceships, race
but just
cars.
that there are there are the idea that there are that classism still exists even in a place specifically designed to break down those types of divides between people,
True. I would say it's very rare that there are these art cars that have security saying you can't get on. It's very rare, but it does happen. Some of them you can't get on because they're moving 15 miles an hour and they're 3 stories tall. And you're like, I don't even know how I'd get up there.
They probably find subtle ways to do it. You don't necessarily want to have a fucking bouncer at the door, but at the same time, if you don't stop, no one's getting on, there's
very
more
true.
Subtle ways to go about.
But on the other hand, there's an art car out there that is a giant 3-story thing. It had a live band playing on it, which is rare and was awesome. They were like riffing along with hip hop, like drummer, bassist, all that stuff. And they had hammocks dangling from the car, almost like outriggers on a fishing boat, but each outrigger was dangling a hammock and you could ride up, clip your bike to it to drag it, and then hop in one of these and cruise with this band that was jamming. So that's
pretty.
Great.
The idea of a vehicle that would be that was a tow vehicle. I like that. Where you could clip your bicycle to it and just get towed around. I think that would be fun. Actually, that's a good one.
Being able to link up.
If you had outriggers, like a giant tuna boat, like a fishing, like a fishing boat that had just outriggers with a bunch of lines dangling that you could just grab and get a tow. That rules.
Well, these were like hammocks. So you would clip your bike onto the art car so it was taken care of and you didn't leave it behind.
Oh.
And then you would lay in one of these circular
that's cool
swings
too.
And you could just chill and not have to pedal for a while.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
Very nice.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good time.
It's a good time. As long as you just put all the effort in. It's the hardest vacation in the world.
Yeah, it seems like the prep is a lot to deal
it's a
with.
lot.
We're getting there and getting back seems like it kind of sucks too. Yeah. Do they still build a runway? People still take fucking planes out there? They do, right?
It's something like the second busiest airport in Nevada for the week, and one of the busiest there's 400 flights a day.
Really?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that buy flights.
Obviously not commercial, right? It's private pilots with their planes operating like.
There's no commercial flights. There are charter flights. So a friend of mine, his buddies are pilots, and they, all week they just either they own planes or they rent a plane, and then they'll fly you in and out for $700 each way. And so there are a lot of people that just want to get in and out that way, or I don't know what their deal is, or they can afford it. They want to go get a shower at a hotel, but and then there's a lot of private pilots that do tours. Yeah, exactly. There's skydiving planes that go up every day. A lot of that. And then there was some brave soul was flying one of those motorized hang gliders. Those things?
Paraglider. Yeah.
Every day, even when it was really windy and dusty, I saw that. I can't imagine something less comfortable.
Gnarly.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. I think Nikki can't figure out the tunnel. She's crying at the door. Hang on.
Okay.
Nikki, your sister figured this out. Why can't you? You want to come in? I showed her the tunnel. I don't know. I don't understand why she can't figure out.
Maybe
the
she's
tunnel for a
claustrophobic.
second. Nikki, we were worried that she might be a little too rotund for the tunnels, but she's good.
Shall we do the Q's?
Yeah,
and
we
A's?
got some Q's and A's. Let's get to some of them.
We do. We have let's see. We have one Burning Man question, and the rest are the car.
Okay,
And,
let's start with
other
the
things.
Burning Man one.
There we go. So someone, let's see, Chris Pockert asked, he just want to know how cliquish Burning Man is or isn't. Are first timers treated any differently, positively or negatively? And are there any sort of hazing or first timer rituals? The only official first time ritual is when you go through the gate, you give your ticket, and if they say, are you a first timer? If you are, you lay on the ground and make a dust angel to like get used to the dust, and then you get to ring a cowbell, which is actually in a lot of places it's just a scuba tank which is cut in half, which makes
Those make a good cowbell.
make a real good. There was a whole art installation that was a giant wooden tree filled with those, and you just
The wind chimes.
there were 2x4s everywhere. You could just hit them and
That's
make
fun.
aggressive hunchback.
There was a
Notre Dame music.
guy. Did you come with us? Our pal Corey has a friend
Oh, yeah.
who owns this like property out in the middle of the desert, like unincorporated land, and he built his own shooting range up
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And it's like this big hillside, and he cut scuba tanks from chains all over, and they were targets, and goddamn, were they satisfying when you hit those.
They are. That's why shooting steel is so much more satisfying than shooting paper.
Yeah.
I would say Burning Man is not cliquish. If you walk up to people and say it's your first time, anyone who's been there more than once will get so excited for you,
I bet.
and then like ask how it's going and ask about your prep and all your situation, and they'll help you out. So it's a community that is very excited for other people to experience it, and there's plenty of hazing going around, but it's voluntary. There's a lot of dunk your face, dude. This across the street, these people built a like old school diner with booths, a counter. They serve pancakes, they serve hot dogs. But if you want to cut the line for hot dogs, you had to dunk your face in cold water, and they would like spank you.
That was probably like nice though, wasn't that?
Yeah,
like,
but
nice?
But in a COVID era, like I walked up and I saw that, I was like, not doing this.
No,
and there was also
shared water.
There was a
right.
latex dildo stuck to the bottom of that thing. If you also wanted to, I don't know what that got you besides skipping the line. It was just there, but I was like, this is the fastest way to get COVID.
But sucking a communal dildo in a tank of water, that's
What? Yeah, I mean,
pretty
and
gross.
that camp was so nice, and their food was amazing.
pretty gross, dude.
But that thing was pretty gross.
That's nasty.
All right. Chris Navio says, Matt, I know you like to keep some things personal. Are you going to do a garage tour at the new house? It'd be cool to see that with the Demon.
A garage tour at the new house with the car.
With the car.
Well, my new house only has a 1-car garage. It was a 3-car garage, but we turned 2 of the bays into a gym. So we put a glass dividing wall between the gym and the garage part. So there's only actually 1 car space in the garage. I'm not going to make a YouTube video of it's not about like it's weird. It's very weird for me to do the look at my shit videos. But a lot of people were interested in the design of the house and the little detail. My house is like, it's very nice. Don't get me wrong. I'm very happy with it. And it is a very nice and I'm very fortunate that I get to live somewhere like this. It's not extravagant. It's not like crazy baller. It's, it's just a house in LA, but I want to do something on probably Instagram, maybe just like a reel or something that's a tour, because I do want to show the fun details of the house, because there are a lot of Easter eggs and really fun little whimsical shit.
True.
And also I want to make sure that our designers, Sarah Trimble and Webb Bland, and our contractor, LaRon Cohen, get some social media love. because they worked so hard and they did such a nice job, and we want to like recognize them in whatever way we can. So I'll probably do a walkthrough on Instagram, but we need to like do some more unpacking first. There's still boxes and shit everywhere.
The interior, you guys did a lot of really creative, funky stuff. Like you genuinely did. So
yeah, it's not like, oh my God, it's not like, and here we have a 45 square feet of Italian marble imported from fucking Sicily and blah, blah, blah. It's more like cat tunnels and themed bathrooms. You know, there's a hot dog themed bathroom and a Demolition Man themed bathroom, which is like fucking so weird. And like, there's just little stuff everywhere. And Chef Guy Fieri, you know, he gave me the top 5 must-haves in the kitchen, and we executed those. So I'm very happy with the kitchen. It's pretty fucking cool. But yeah, I'll do something with it eventually. Okay. And did you see, Zach? I put on Instagram like an hour ago. They've got the engine and gearbox are out of my car, and they've got 2 guys next to each other. One guy's going ham on the motor, and one guy's going ham on the gearbox. They're doing them at the same time.
Whoa!
They're like, there's like an assembly line going on over there.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's like, pretty G. I have to say, it is pretty G to have the engine and gearbox out of the car, and all the transport plastic is still on the car. I told them, I said, leave everything on, because, you know, Larry's going to do it. And like, just don't even bother taking it off. Just let it stay protected until Larry can get to it. But like, it's not often people pull fucking motors and shit out of
with
cars
0 miles.
There's 12 miles on it right now. They sent me the odometer disclosure. There's 12 miles. Or there might be like 25 miles because my salesman drove it to demand rather than it's like 10 miles from the dealer. So it's like, just drive the fucking thing over there. Rather than charging me for a flatbed, which was very nice. Shout out to Porsche of Englewood, New Jersey. I love them. I bought many cars from they own an Audi and a Subaru, and they used to do Lincoln Mercury. So this is now my 5th car I've bought from them, which, in case you're wondering how I got an allocation, I've bought 5 cars from them. My parents bought 30, 40 cars from them. I mean, almost every non-Lexus that my parents have owned for the last 35 years has come from this one dealer. So
wow.
So between that and my own purchases, that's how you get an allocation for a GT car, by being loyal for that long. But anyway, yeah, there's a fucking assembly line happening over there, and the car's still got the plastic on it.
That's rad. That thing's gonna be so insane.
Yeah.
Oh my God. The sounds with the top down, it's gonna be crazy.
It's gonna be good. And we're doing the quiet exhaust too.
I don't think it'll be that quiet.
It won't be.
It'll be good.
But it'll be quieter than it could be. I drove one that when I went to see Ricky D and I brought my dad down there, they had a Spider that they had just finished, and he asked me to have a go and tell him what I thought. And it was insanely fast, but the guy wanted the fucking Florida exhaust on it. And it was like headers, no cats,
Cup car
a Kropovich. And it honestly didn't even sound good. It was just so much noise. I was like, please don't make my car like this.
Yeah.
I do not want this at all. It's terrible.
Being the loudest is so silly.
No, I said, make mine as quiet as you can make it, and it'll still, because he said it doesn't add any power. He's like, it's not, you do all this shit, it makes it loud, but the power is the same, because the stock Porsche exhaust is not restrictive at all in this car. So you basically leave it stock. They use the muffler section from the GT3 or something. It'll sound like a stock GT3 basically.
Nice. Oh, that's rad.
Yeah,
that'll sound great.
Yeah.
Ryan Morris says he just got back from 2 weeks in Italy. He rented a 500 hybrid with a 6-speed, 68 horsepower. Made my wife's Prius C feel like a McLaren. What is
they make a hybrid? I didn't know they made a Fiat 500 on. That's kind of cool.
With a manual. Interesting.
Neat. That's funky. Yeah.
What is the slowest modern car we have driven?
That CRZ, Honda CRZ, the hybrid stick, that thing was slow as shit.
I think that was 0 to 16 like 9.5 or something.
It was pretty slow. Yeah. I mean, I've driven like a brand new Cruise America RV that would like barely hit 70.
That's true.
You know,
That's a funny
like
funny
a
answer.
big a box truck. Though that's pretty much as slow as I've
Were
driven.
the Suzuki, were the cappuccinos slow? I've never driven one. They, you know, they look cool, but
They don't weigh anything. I mean,
Yeah.
they're like NA Miatas, you know. Those aren't even that modern. Those are almost 25 years old. They're 25, 30 years old. They're like early mid 90s. In Europe, I rented a Ford Focus diesel. Remember that car, Zach? I didn't rent it. JF rented it technically.
for the Germany trip,
One of the Germany trips. It was the camera vehicle.
Yeah,
it
that
was
was
a
pretty
Focus
slow.
diesel, and it was really slow.
yeah,
But I do remember that one, you could go up and down every gear without using the clutch. And so on one drive, I drove it for like 3 hours without using the clutch, which was pretty awesome. You could rev match it perfectly and not damage it without using the clutch. And then that time when we had to return them to the airport, we had to drive from Frankfurt to Munich or something, Frankfurt to Copenhagen, because we were going to take the ferry over to Sweden. That's what we were doing.
okay,
And we had to drive from either Munich or Frankfurt to Copenhagen, which we left at 2:30 in the morning, totally unlimited Autobahn section. And I was on the floorboard for over 40 minutes. And it was like, you know, 95 miles an hour
Yeah.
or 100 miles an hour or something in this terrible car. But I was literally flat for the longest I've ever gone flat in anything.
that's pretty cool. Even if it's a slow car, it's a fun thing to do.
And that was like a 2015, you know, Focus diesel wagon shitbox.
Yeah, just get it up to speed eventually.
Yeah.
Marty McFly 86, he says he was curious about the state of California banning the sale of ICE vehicles. He just heard about it and he's very curious. And then, of course, this has come up more recently with the brownouts, rolling blackouts in California.
Yeah, I mean, it's very funny because you can't, you know, first off, you can't have it both ways. Right. California very often wants to have it both ways. They want to be a leader in green energy, which is a noble thing to do. But this performative stuff like banning the sale of gas vehicles 13 years in the future from today, you get a lot of headlines for the announcement of this progressive policy. But then when you roll that policy back in 5 or 6 years and it's untenable, just like cafe regulations or whatever, it's on page like B17 of the paper. You know, it's not. And so you get your headlines now, and then you get a little more realistic about it later. And as has been happening, you know, it's so hot here this past weekend that they were saying, among other things, you know, suggestions they were making to reduce the power consumption of your individual life. They were saying, please don't charge your electric car,
Right.
which is hysterical. And so it's a tacit admission that even though they're pushing this policy forward, the infrastructure is not ready for it in these, especially combined with the climate change that we are clearly experiencing.
Yeah. I mean, I hope it works at, you know, functions as a catalyst. Not that I know there's a lot of people out there that know that the infrastructure is not ready and probably that work in government and are trying to, you know, sound that alarm.
Sure.
But this will, unfortunately, humans, we often need to get, you know, hit in the face with rain before we go, maybe we should find cover.
Sure.
So this will force the hands to go, okay, how do we build this out? If we want to have this thing, if we want to have EV cars for everybody, we have to address power source and then infrastructure of getting the power to people.
Absolutely. And there are smart people working on those problems. It's not like no one's doing anything.
Yeah.
But at a policy level, you know, I know California likes to be the leader in stuff like this. And there's
clear evidence if you look at photographs of Los Angeles from the 60s and 70s versus photographs of Los Angeles now, that their policies towards emissions of vehicles have made a positive impact on our air quality here. But I just read this, I just finished this book, which I talked about for 2 seconds on the last show, called Road to Nowhere: What Silicon Valley Gets Wrong About Transportation. I left it in the studio for you, Zack, to read, so I think you'll find it very interesting. And it's by a guy named Paris Marx, who I really want to get on the podcast. He argues that the problem isn't necessarily that cars are gas powered, and if we change that to cars being electric, that will solve something. The real problem is we have built an entire society around cars, period. And in doing so, we have truly decimated walkable cities that are set up where you don't have to go very far to get things, where you can use a bicycle, where you can use mass transit, whether it's subways, buses, or streetcars. And because of the lobbying efforts of the auto industry, because of the lobbying efforts of the fossil fuel industry, we have, in the last 100 years, reconfigured our entire society. And among other, not just those two things, but those are major players. We have reconfigured our entire society to be a driving society. And while electric cars, personally owned electric cars, can and probably will reduce local air quality in urban environments, there are a lot of other side effects to that. The production of these cars is very dirty, and we're outsourcing that production to places we don't have to look at. The generation of power is, for the most part right now, dirty business, and we're outsourcing the production of that to places where poor people live and where the rich people driving the expensive electric cars don't have to look at. A lot of these solutions are unequally distributed in ways that are not likely to improve the problem of inequality and the problem of cleanly getting people where they need to go.
Well, because the solutions allow everyone, or the people with means, to maintain the lifestyle. So if you so if our life is built around a car and a driving lifestyle, well, now you can keep that and just feel a bit better about it than before.
Basically. But I really recommend the book. It's called Road to Nowhere: What Silicon Valley Gets Wrong About Transportation. And he really addresses a lot of the myths we've been led to believe by technocrats, whether it's autonomous cars, electric cars, Elon and his dumbass tunnels, and Uber, Bird, and the micro mobility thing with the rental scooters, and what we've been told these will do to improve our society versus the reality of what's happened once they've been implemented, and who they're really designed to help versus who they want you to believe they're designed to help, which I think is a very interesting thing to explore. So I can't recommend the book highly enough. Road to Nowhere.
So this is from Christian. He asked us a question about his girlfriend buying a Rapide, and she ended up buying one. And
bold choice.
She hasn't sold her BMW i8 yet because she thinks the values will rise. Do we think they will appreciate?
No.
Yeah, Christian likely. Says no because of production numbers.
They made a lot of them, and a car that's based on technology as opposed to performance or involvement. When the technology, the i8 was the best tech that 2014 had to offer. I mean, it's not to say that a car that is culturally impactful, like a Tesla Roadster, built in relatively small numbers, is likely to be collectible. But the i8, they built and sold as many as they could. Can you still? I think you might almost. I mean, if you can't still buy a new one, they stopped production only very recently. I drove a Pretz car a year ago, so I would not
keep that car as a collectible in the short term, maybe in the very long term, but in the short term, only keep it because you like it and you want to drive it. I wouldn't keep it for a value reason.
Great. So we have eight minutes left, so we could do lightning round, and then
All
I
right.
should just buy an upgrade for this.
Yeah, we really should.
We had one for a year, we never used it, and I canceled it, and of course here we are.
Seems like the kind of thing we could invest in.
I wonder if I could do it in 2 seconds. I'll try when you answer this question. Best high miles per gallon all-wheel drive wagon, says Joe. Very small options, it seems.
Best high mileage miles per gallon wagon.
Yeah,
So fuel efficient.
What's the best fuel efficient? Yes.
The BMW 328D wagon, the diesel wagon. Our friend Vinny had one of those, and it was, I don't know about long-term maintenance costs, but it was very well made, and it would get well into the 40s on the highway. That was excellent.
We have a number of friends who own
Jetta TDIs. I mean, Jetta TDIs. I mean, the cheating diesel ones. If it had the recall done, it lost a little bit of the horsepower, but the fuel efficiency was still there.
I have a Crosstrek. Like Lee Keen has one. I see them everywhere. Just like I've never heard a bad thing about them from our friends that either own them or
Crosstreks seem to work pretty good too. Yeah.
All right, back to sorry. Have we ever watched any of the Fast and Furious ripoffs? I think I saw one of the cartoon ones once. It was just very crazy.
I never have.
Oscar Negron, have we or will we drive a GR Corolla? What do we think on the pricing and what spec is the sweet spot?
We will drive the GR Corolla. I was out of town in Scotland, and Zack was at Burning Man during the launch, so we literally could not make it. We were invited. Very nice of Toyota to invite us. We were considered and invited, but we were both out of town. We will drive one as soon as press cars come to Los Angeles. And I don't honestly, I don't pay attention to those types of things. I don't know what the specs get you. I don't know what the options are. I have paid virtually no attention to it until it's time to actually drive it and review it, at which point I'm happy to give you an opinion, and we will consider that in our review, but I don't know yet.
Okay.
It looks like the people who went had a good time.
Yeah.
And I saw Larry Chen's video, and I think it sounds bitchin'. I saw his like little Instagram video, and the sound it makes is promising. Sounds good.
That's such a rad little thing.
Yeah.
Chappie says, Matt, I made your ravioli recipe, which the flavor is spectacular, but the meat was a little grainy in texture. Has that ever happened? Did I cool it too long? Not enough oil? What happened?
I think he means the ragu. I don't know if I made a ravioli recipe, but the meat sauce, the key to making the meat sauce is you have to cook it for a really long time. So it's a 3-hour process. You start with your mirepoix, your carrots, celery, and onions. Get those browned in olive oil for about 8 to 10 minutes. And then you add your meat and you stir for 50 to 60 minutes. And the meat will literally almost burn. You got to keep it moving. When your liquid level gets low, you add some more olive oil, you add your salt and pepper and seasoning, and you got to keep it moving. It's 50 to 60 minutes, and you'll notice that the meat will actually start to foam as the fat. You got to use a high fat content meat. I use like 80-20, right? So if you're using real lean meat, like 97% meat, lean, it's not going to work. You get a high fat meat, 80-20 or 75 or 85-15. And when the meat will start to foam after about 45 minutes of stirring. It will literally make a foam. Just after that foam is when you start to add your liquid ingredients. That's when you know it's going. It'll almost feel like it's burnt, like right before it burns.
Wow.
Yeah,
I've never heard of meat foaming. That's
yeah,
weird.
and your arms will be exhausted because you're going to be stirring 3 pounds of meat for 45 minutes straight. I mean, literally, you're stirring it every 30 seconds for 45 minutes. Yeah, it's tiring, and then it simmers for 2 more hours on low once you add your ingredients, the rest of your liquid ingredients.
Let's see. How do we see the IPO of Porsche affecting the company long term? Will there be noticeable change or business as usual?
I don't know. I mean, it's already part of a big conglomerate, you know, so I don't really know. I don't know. I mean, company that makes has a purity of any product has very rarely been improved by having more cooks in the kitchen, meaning giving shareholders a voice. It makes people money, but it very rarely improves the product. That's just my opinion. I don't like public companies very much.
Yeah, it's I read something about it that was like the shares that are being offered are not voting shares, which is interesting for an IPO.
Yeah.
So Porsche will maintain, I mean, granted, I'm not a financial advisor or anything, but like it seems like Porsche will maintain the control, which is good for product because they are clearly very good at the product they make. I don't know if this is just like they need an infusion of cash or what.
Yeah. Interesting. Not
Yeah,
sure.
funky. Dan Williamson, he's a year into Tesla Model Y performance daily use in Denver, and he's fast and it does all those things. The supercharger network is great. Any thoughts on why other mainstream automakers like Ford, Kia, Audi aren't investing in charger networks? It seems like non-brand specific solutions like Electrify America and whatnot are not working.
Well, that's not true at all. First off, one make charger networks are bad. They're bad for the world. Even taking a level-headed approach to it, I understand why Tesla did it. Okay, because at the time they were a leader in EVs, and other manufacturers, partially due to Tesla's encouragement, Tesla told other manufacturers, well, why build your own EVs when you could just buy EV credits from us and go about business as usual? And that's in Ed Niedermeyer's book. He talks about that. But one make charger networks are bad. And to understand why they are bad, all you have to do is imagine your gas-powered Ford could only be filled up at a Ford filling station, or a Porsche, or a Lamborghini, or whatever the fuck. I mean, imagine a small volume manufacturer could only fill up at their own station. I mean, what a nightmare that would be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's Tesla, you know, they were able to develop a very good system because it was like, well, this works with our stuff. They basically sat in one room. But as a consumer, it's a very bad idea to have these isolated islands of infrastructure.
Absolutely. It would be a waste of infrastructure, a waste of power. Having a universal charging network is just better for everybody. It's better for society. It's not wasting resources. So what would be better than that is the reason Electrify America and ChargePoint and these other ones aren't good isn't because there aren't enough chargers. It isn't because it's because the reliability of them is bad. They can't be counted on. And that's because the incentives so far have been to build the network and not to maintain the network. We need incentives. We need to treat Charge Network like the utility that it is. And if we do that and allocate resources appropriately to maintaining these networks with trained people, reliable power delivery, reliable communication with the apps, universal payment systems, we can take the network that exists now and make it good to where everyone can use it. Tesla only works better because the compatibility issues with, you know, it's the same reason that Tesla, Rivian, Lucid don't have CarPlay, because CarPlay has to work for everything. That's much harder. And remember, in the early days of CarPlay, it didn't work with every car. But now here we are 10 years later, and it does. So developing universal solutions is much harder and requires a different set of money and of people skills and whatever. Having a private network for every manufacturer is bad.
Yeah. I think so many things work well these days. We forget that there was a time where you could go to one website and it would be formatted incorrectly for the device. Like for a long time, going to a website on your iPhone looked like shit because it wasn't optimized for mobile. And now that's like a thing, optimized for mobile. So we're just in the early stages, and it's the teething issues.
Right. Making a charge network that talks to every type of car, including Tesla, is much more difficult than making a charge network that only has to talk to one type of car. That's way, way, way easier. Doesn't mean easy, but easier.
Yeah.
But if we really are going to have an EV future, the universal charging solution is obviously better because it allocates those resources in a much more equitable way and doesn't force you into buying one company's product in order to access a good charging network.
All right. Jake Yab says CT4V Blackwing or RS3 for a daily sedan. Priorities are fun, tossable, accessible power on the street, 75 grand-ish. Daily use and occasional track days. Are there other options that would be better for this scenario? Oh, Jacia, sorry. Their name is Jacia.
Both of those, I mean, those cars are both great at any one of those categories just mentioned. I mean, it's, they both handle great. They're both very fast. They're both very comfortable. They're both perfectly usable every day. For me, it comes down to, do you need the all-wheel drive system for bad weather? Or do you want to drive stick? I mean, if you want to drive stick, buy the Blackwing. If you want to drive an auto, buy the RS3. That's kind of where I'm at. And those cars are also both hard to get. There's a lot of ADM floating around on both of those cars right now. So which one can you actually get? Because they're both limited production and depending on your relationship with a dealer, they're both lovely cars. They can both handle track work very well, especially if you option up the ceramic brakes and I can't remember what it's named, dynamic package or something on the RS3. But if you don't need the all-wheel drive, and also, do you want to, the RS3 can fake a rear wheel drive ish behavior. The CT4V naturally has the rear wheel drive behavior. So do you want that type of oversteer to be your predominant characteristic, or do you want a car that will fake it?
Right. Yeah. Someone else has an RS3 question, so we'll jump to that. Jordan Y. A relative ordered a new RS3 partly because of your review. He plans on keeping it for a warranty period and then getting rid of it, but he just caught the track bug and is thinking about tracking his RS3. So Jordan says, like, I've done the dual purpose thing, daily and track something, but it accelerates the wear on parts. You can develop more creaks, rattles, vibrations, all that stuff. Do you think it's worth accepting these trade-offs with a pretty nice, expensive new car for someone who's new to the hobby?
Yeah, because it's still cheaper than buying a second car and dealing with that. I mean, if he's only planning on keeping a car for $336 anyway, leave it stock. Don't post track videos on your Instagram. Take the fucking thing to the track. I mean, going to just purely going to a track day in a stock RS3 would not void your warranty, especially if you keep it off social media, especially if you keep the car out of the wall.
And I think if your track is not particularly bumpy, if it's not Big Willow, like squeaks, rattle, like I've driven cars that are put together very well that have a lot of track or just miles in general, and like there's no squeaks and rattles. So it really depends on the car and the track you're driving it on.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think necessarily it accelerates squeaks and rattles. I mean, you may go through consumables faster, but like I would just track the car you've got. I mean, if you're still relatively new at it, the RS3 is a forgiving car. It's easy to drive on a track. It's got different modes that allow you to explore the limits of adhesion. And yeah, you're gonna go through tires and brake pads and stuff and oil faster, but like that's cheaper than buying a second car.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a good educational tool.
Yeah. Start with the car you've got.
Did you get the spicy 100 octane tune on your Demand GT4?
That, yes. Short answer, yes. At first, Rick said he was going to attempt a 91 tune. And then he said, but it probably won't be very happy. It probably won't work so well. And I said, so what do I do? Because I can't just like get 100. He goes, well, you buy this stuff. It's called, hang on, let me pull up the text. There's a good quality booster you buy on, it's called Boostane. A 32-ounce can for $30 gets you 3 fill-ups. So for a tax,
What's Boostane?
Boostane, Boostane.
Boostane.
So for $10 a fill-up, I can turn 91 into race gas. He said all of his customers use this stuff and it's perfectly fine.
Oh man, you
So-
can get a big drum for $400.
Oh, really? Oh, then I'll just do that. Yeah, okay.
This is wait, where'd it go? Oh, 5 gallons.
Yeah, so you
You
just
get 5
buy
gallons.
just buy that shit and use 10 ounces of it per fill up, and that turns 91 into 98, and then you get full power.
Nice.
So that's what we call pay the cost to be the boss.
All right, we have 2 left. Tate
Okay.
Lindstrom. He just got a Hyundai i30N delivered in Australia, which, as we know, is basically an Elantra N with
Mhm.
in a hatchback. Have we seen them around when outside the U.S.? He's surprised they never made it to the U.S., but the Elantra did.
Well, the
Yeah.
i30 isn't sold here. So
Right.
obviously that's why the i30N isn't sold here. They
Exactly.
committed to Veloster. So
And we have Veloster, Kona N, and
Yeah.
Elantra N, which
Yeah.
are so similar. Like, we don't need, like, the i30 looks cool, but I feel like that's a case where we just go, how come we can't have everything?
yes,
It's like, we got enough.
yeah, basically. Yeah.
This last one's a little long, but it's pretty
Okay.
funny.
Okay.
This is from Daxa. Daxa is looking for a Turo-able 4-seater closest to a base Boxster experience because in June of next year, Daxa is taking a long road trip on the East Coast, and they were planning to Turo a Boxster, drive around for a couple days, and go to a wedding. But now Daxa and his or her girlfriend have a new girlfriend, and it's getting pretty serious. And they want to bring a third person on this trip, and it's very important to share in the driving portion of the trip. So is there anything that seats 4 comfortably that is manual and rear-wheel drive, preferably a convertible? And then Daxa adds, P.S. Yes, I am bragging about my lifestyle. Wouldn't you?
I mean, the list of 4-seat manual transmission rear wheel drive convertibles is very short, right? You've got your
Yeah.
Mustangs and your Camaros. You've got your BMW 4 Series.
But I mean, do they even
What
sell
else
the
is
4
there? I mean,
Series with a manual?
Maybe a
and convertible?
911, but that person in the back's not going to be very happy.
Yeah, that's even smaller than a Mustang, which is also not very big.
Yeah, there are a very, very limited number of cars on the market that fit this requirement.
Yeah.
I
I
don't know if there's any beyond 4 Series, Mustang, Camaro, and technically 911. What other manual transmission? You can't get a
mean,
manual in a Mercedes C-Class.
or an
You can't
E-Class.
No, you can't get a manual rear-wheel drive any Volkswagen.
Yeah.
You can't get. I mean, I think that's
No
it.
Jaguar. I mean, there's plenty of good
No.
Jags with 4-seat convertibles, but not with manuals.
What,
And
I mean,
either
what's
way,
the XKR? Is that what you're talking about? The XKR? The F-Type is a
Yeah.
convertible, but it's 2 seats.
oh yeah, totally. I mean, the number of 4-seat convertibles is small, and the number of them that are comfortable, in my opinion, is basically zero, unless your 2 passengers are relatively short, because the 2+2 is not a 4-seat car. Like that +2 in the back is like for backpacks and small children and insurance. I mean,
I would give up the manual. I mean, how important is a manual in a rental car, really? I mean, it limits your options. I mean, unless if you're happy with maybe you get an M4 convertible, maybe you get a slightly older M3 convertible. I mean, those are perfectly fine automobiles, or a 435 or 440 convertible. Actually, can you get maybe you can get a 2 Series, last generation 2 Series convertible, possibly as well. 2 Series or 4 Series. Although if I'm really using the back seat, I want the 4 Series, not the 2. But I would abandon the manual, and I would get something like a Macan. If you want to feel like a Porsche, get a Macan or a Panamera, and you'll have a lovely time. Road trip a Panamera. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. The number of cars these days that have panoramic sunroofs, which does enough of an impression, in my opinion, of a convertible without sacrificing the back seat room. Mm-hmm. Like you can get plenty of air in the car. And then if you get something with a dual clutch or an automatic, which will be quick enough that you'll have fun, if your passengers want to drive and they don't know how to drive a manual, they're not left out of the game.
And here's the problem with the 4 Series. Retractable hardtop means if you have a trunk full of luggage, you can't put that top down anyway.
Yeah.
So you have to then choose. So, I mean, I would go with something like an E-Class convertible, an 8 Series BMW convertible, or even a Mustang or Camaro convertible, because when you put the roof down, it doesn't take away from the trunk space. Mm-hmm. That's kind of important. You need a soft roof. I would abandon the manual. I think you're really limiting your options unless you get very, very lucky from Turo.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there's a car we're not thinking of, but there's not a lot of manual transmission convertibles left on the market. They're just
and we might be forgetting about something, but it was going to be significantly older, and and then is reliability going to be an issue? You're traveling great distance. Like, that's not something I'd want to deal with if I'm going across multiple states on the East Coast, is calling someone in Delaware and be like, hey, I'm in Vermont, your car broke. Like, no, I don't want to do that.
I don't love Turo. And I like Turo for certain things. If you want to take an extended test drive of a newish car you might want to buy, rent it for a couple of days. You want a classic. You want to get a fucking Ferrari 348 like we got off Turo, that's, fuck around with it locally a little bit. That's great. But for the same reason I don't like Airbnb, there are certain things where I want to deal with a national corporation. Like if I'm driving across multiple states, I want fucking Enterprise or something. I want them to be able to handle that shit if something happens, far away. Same reason I like staying in hotels. The fucking maid comes. There's like some kind of corporate accountability. I'm not dealing with someone that could be a total fucking weirdo. We had that when we went to Panama. There was that bait and switch, and then we were in Panama, and what the fuck do you do now? And a guy, this dude who came by the shop recently, whose name I'm unfortunately blanking on. He's an automotive journalist from Estonia, and he came to LA and was doing a bunch of car shit and rented a 440i convertible on Turo. And I said, how do you like it? He goes, well, actually the tires on the left side are completely bald. It's got like a bad alignment. Tires on the right side are okay. But because the tires like hold air and roll, the guy who owns the car doesn't consider that an emergency and won't fix the tires like now. He's like, yeah, I'll get to that later. And he's like, I don't want to go up in the canyons with this thing because it's like kind of fucked. And it's a pretty new car. And so like if you spend a couple $100 a day on a newish BMW, you know, if it was Enterprise, or I say Enterprise, but if it was any of the
Hertz,
major
whatever, yeah.
companies, if you brought that car back and said, look, this is not right, they'd probably give you another one. They'd let you trade it out for a different car.
Yeah.
Even when I went to Germany and I rented from Sixt, which has some pretty nice cars. I rented an S7 in Germany, and it was reasonably priced. They brought one around. It was adventure drives. I was going on a 1,500-mile road trip. They brought one around, and the tires were bald. And I was like, hey, guys, like, I can't go over the mountain passes in Switzerland with these tires. And they were like, oh, okay. And they gave me a different one, and it had good tires. And so, like, that can't happen on Turo. And that's just like, Turo's great for certain things, but I don't love the sharing economy when it comes to big road trips, big vacations, big commitments. I like it to taste, you know, I'll go and stay in a tiny house for a night, whatever. But like, I'm not going to hinge my whole fucking vacation on one person who owns a home versus a corporation with some kind of accountability. Oh, my room fucking smells like someone left a fucking log under the bed. Okay, we'll switch you to a different room, you know?
Right.
Like, so
Yeah, I agree with that. There's enough cool cars available from Hertz, Enterprise, etc. Like the Prestige collections. Like they've really diversified, you know, the OEMs and the style. Like that would probably be, especially if you're going to ditch the manual and just go with something comfortable, then you could just go there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Good answers. All right.
That's our show. In theory, I hope what do you think about tomorrow? Do you think you'll be back in public tomorrow?
I mean, I feel like all I am is congested, but I don't feel tired or symptomy. So I could go, because I know we have a show with Alonso.
Yeah.
So I could go and just wear a mask the whole time. I could.
All right. Well, we'll revisit, but I mean, we have a show tomorrow with Alonso.
Yeah.
So either I'll do it. Alonso Bowden comic will be on our next show. I love Alonso. He's very funny, and he's into cars and bikes and has been all over the world a million times. And so he's always got a lot of interesting things to talk about. And maybe Zack will be there. Hopefully he will be there. Maybe he'll be there with a mask. Maybe he won't be there. We'll see. But thank you for listening. Thank you for submitting your questions. And we will see you next time. Bye.